everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me once again is my colleague, Forbes Money and Politics reporter, Kyle Khan-Mullins. Kyle, thanks so much for joining me.
Always great to be here, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
You have some updated reporting on the fortunes of the eldest Trump sons. I want to first start with Eric Trump here. You posted a wild statistic in your article. You said that he has gotten 10 times richer since his dad's reelection. I mean, that's just an incredible number, I'm assuming. So I want to hear it. Give us the number. What was his net worth before the 2024 election, and what is it today?
It's a wild number, but as far as we can tell, it's true. We estimated Eric Trump's net worth at about $40 million on the eve of the 2024 election. We did a net worth valuation for him, for his brother Don Jr., for his sister Ivanka, and that was our estimate a little over a year ago now. Now it's December 2025. Their dad has had a year since he won the election, been in office for less than a year, and Eric Trump is worth an incredible $400 million. So that is 10 times higher than that 40 million that we estimated a year ago.
I mean, going from 40 million to 400 million is just such an incredible uptick there. But back in September, Forbes estimated Eric Trump was worth $750 million. So that means in just a couple of months, his net worth dropped by a couple hundred million. I'm curious why we are seeing that number fall so much in such a short period of time.
So you can chalk that plunge up to the same reason why his wealth is up so much since last year. Cryptocurrency is really volatile, and the story of Eric Trump and his wealth over the past year, along with his brothers, is cryptocurrency. That particular drop can be chalked up to the collapsing stock price of American Bitcoin. That's a crypto venture that Eric took public back in September. The stock popped, and that was right around the Forbes 400. We valued his dad on the Forbes 400, and we valued him and the rest of his family members as well. But since then, it has fallen back to earth. So that's brought that number down from that 750 that we estimated back in September to the 400 million that we're at today.
And that's a trend with a couple of members of the Trump family, that crypto is the reason they are seeing their fortunes surge. Eric obviously is not an exception, but I want to break down his fortune. Still, the biggest piece of his fortune, according to your reporting, is his stake in American Bitcoin. Talk to us about his what that company is and how much his stake is worth.
So I actually wrote down a timeline here just to make sure I got all these mergers correct, because there's a couple rapid fire mergers that have taken place over the past year that I wanted to make sure I got right. So American Bitcoin began as American Data Centers. This is a sort of opaque venture. It was launched with his older brother. Eric launched it back in February, and then just a month later, that company merged with a company called Hut 8. That was a Bitcoin mining operation, and they merged to become American Bitcoin. Then, in May, the company announced yet another merger with another crypto mining company that was called Griffin. That merger was completed in early September, but critically, Griffin was publicly traded. So when the merger was complete, now American Bitcoin is publicly traded, and we now have a market for it. Their overall goal is to set up lots of computers in places with cheap electricity and use those computers to solve the puzzles that unlock Bitcoin, and then stockpile it, hold on to it. They anticipate that the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. So if they mine it and hold on to it and then later sell it, they can make a tidy profit. So Eric Trump's stake is about 7.3% according to securities filings. That's worth about $160 million, at least as of my article a couple days ago. It was briefly, back in September, worth enough to make him a billionaire, but it's since fallen far below that point. It's now trading around $2 a share. Back then it was up, or as high, it peaked at about $14 a share.
And he is also involved in crypto through the Trump-founded crypto venture. It is World Liberty Financial. He's also making money that way. Talk to us, A, how it's tied to the Trumps to begin with, and B, how much his stake in it is worth.
So World Liberty Financial, this is the Trump family's crypto venture, big main crypto venture that a bunch of them were invested in. It has sold over $1 billion of its tokens. Plus, it has some other ventures as well, like a stablecoin. So me and my colleague Dan Alexander, we sifted through everything that we could find on this company. Shout out to Dan, he did a lot of the heavy lifting here. And we estimate that as of the most recent financial disclosures, the top line figure is Donald Trump owns about 70% of the family's stake in the company. So assuming that the remaining 30% is split between Eric, Don Jr., and Barron, all of whom are listed as co-founders, Forbes estimates that Eric would have received about $80 million in cash after taxes from all of the sales of these tokens, these coins, plus he would have gotten about $36 million worth of his own tokens. We discount those heavily because he can't sell them right now. And then his stake in the stablecoin business, USD1, is probably worth, we estimate, about $19 million based on some comparisons to other stablecoins. So add all that up, it's been another huge boost for Eric's fortune since last year.
And let's take a step back here, and we're done with crypto. I want to talk about some of the other ways he's making money. We obviously can't forget about the Trump Organization. He is still serving as executive vice president there. What does his salary look like?
So Forbes conservatively estimates his salary at about $3 million. We started estimating their salaries back when Ivanka Trump joined the White House back in the first Trump administration. And so we were able to see some information about how much money she was getting paid from the Trump Organization at the time. And then we made some judgments based on how much we thought that Eric and Don Jr. were making based on Ivanka's. So last year's estimate that we did, remember, this is the $40 million estimate just over a year ago. And that found that almost all of Eric's money at the time came from cash that we estimate he saved over the years at the Trump Organization. We estimated that at about $30 million. That might be a conservative estimate. We're not 100% sure, frankly. These things are opaque, and he hasn't run for office. So we don't have an incredible window into his finances. But that's his salary. We estimated, again, at about $3 million.
And then since President Trump won re-election in November of 2024, you're reporting that Eric Trump has made some money from what you describe as renewed foreign interest in deals with the Trump Organization. What does that really look like? And talk to us a little bit more about those licensing deals and the money behind it.
Yeah, his salary is not the only way he's making money from the Trump Organization. He has stakes in a couple of the Trump Organization's businesses. And that's really a big piece of what we're talking about here. So last year, we know that he hauled in, we estimate $3.2 million from new licensing deals, a whole bunch, his stake in those licensing deals. That includes Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam. And that's Eric's estimated stake. Don Jr. also has an estimated stake there. What we don't know yet is how much they made from the deals that they've signed in 2025, because the latest disclosures we have for their father are from 2024. So we do know there have been a bunch of deals that have been announced. We've seen some in Qatar, in India, in Romania, the Maldives. We've seen more in Saudi Arabia. They have been prolific all around the world. And this has really been an uptick from the years before, during the first Trump administration and in his first couple years out of office, when these deals were simply not happening. His brand was not doing super well. So assuming that Eric has had a similar stake in those deals, we can assume that he's made several $1 million more in cash from those. And then because he now appears to have a stake in the family's licensing and management business, we estimate the value of that stake at about $34 million.
And now let's look at his real estate portfolio. Is that robust? What does that look like?
He's got a couple properties. 3 of them are in New York State. One of them is a penthouse in Manhattan. And his biggest home is a $7 million home in Jupiter, Florida. You may recall that the whole Trump family decamped from New York to Florida after the events of the 2020 election and after their father lost the White House the first time. So he lives down there now. Don Jr. lives down there. Ivanka and Jared live down there. And, of course, their dad, he declares his personal residence at Mar-a-Lago.
And then when you're looking at this pie chart of this $400 million fortune, are there any other assets that are in there?
We've covered pretty much all the major stuff. I do want to note he's also got about $5 million in shares of this company called Dominary Holdings. It's this sort of opaque financial firm, doesn't really have a super clear public presence, but it has offices in Trump Tower, and they have helped facilitate a whole bunch of Eric and his older brother's recent deals. That includes helping them set up a special purpose acquisition company. It's on the hunt for a merger target. That went public last week, and it probably added about $30 million to Eric's net worth.
Eric's wife has a public-facing career, Laura Trump. She previously served as a co-chair of the RNC. Currently, she hosts a weekend show on Fox News. How much is she bringing in?
Well, we don't know for sure, but if she gets paid anything like Fox News weekend host turned defense secretary Pete Hegseth, whose salary we know something about because, again, we got his financial disclosures when he joined the administration, it probably earns her over $2 million annually. And between you and me, I would not be shocked if she's getting paid even more than that.
And still, I mean, $2 million, that's a great salary, but that is still such a sliver in this $400 million fortune. How does this stack up to his other siblings? Is Eric Trump the richest of President Trump's children?
So Eric is the richest individual sibling of the Trump siblings. Don Jr. isn't that far behind. We're estimating his net worth about $300 million these days. Barron, the last time we did an estimate for him a couple months ago, that was at about $150 million. The richest kid title kind of comes with a caveat, though. So Ivanka Trump is probably worth about $100 million herself, but she's married to Jared Kushner, who Forbes recently added to our billionaires list thanks to his private equity firm, Affinity Partners. So if you combine the two of them, we typically combine married couples. Ivanka would be the richest sibling, thanks largely to her marriage.
And then when you're looking at Eric Trump, has he hinted at all what's next for him? Is he following in his father's footsteps, perhaps has political ambitions? Does he say, hey, crypto's been this moneymaker for me in the past year. I'm sticking to this. Is he leaning more heavily into the Trump organization? What does that really look like?
We'll just have to see. He doesn't have any explicit political ambitions that we know of, but in a recent interview, he did hint at potential interest in politics down the line. He's already sort of following his dad's blueprint in business, and it seems like he's leaving the door open to doing so in politics as well.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for your reporting. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Always great to be here, Brittany. Thanks again.